Hey, what's up YouTube? This is the J-Man reporting for Saturday, October 1st, 2011, and I want to welcome you to my video. And today we're going to be talking about comic books, and I'm just going to show you a slideshow while I discuss comic books and comic book collecting. I just want to share with you some thoughts and opinions of my perspective on comic books and my perspective on collecting. And you might ask, who am I to question or to give advice on how to collect comic books? Because I haven't been collecting for all that long. Some people have been collecting comics their whole life, and they do it like on a routine basis. They're constantly collecting. But me, I do it a lot more casually. But I pay attention to a lot of people that do it like that's their main hobby, their main focus of their life is comic book collecting, and they've been doing it, ever since they were a kid, and they've got a huge collection. But for me, I'm on a tight budget, and yeah, I'm on a tight budget, and I can't collect everything, so I have to pick and choose carefully. I have to be more selective with my collection. So the obvious thing when you get into comic book collecting is to try and get every issue of your favorite title, your favorite series. Maybe it's Amazing Spider-Man, which a lot of people are collecting. It's one of the most popular comic book titles in the history of comics because it goes all the way back to 1962. And you've got Stan Lee, who created it. We've got that, of course, Superman and Batman, which are extremely popular. So those three characters alone are the three most popular characters in all comic books. So a lot of people will collect those titles or those series, like Action Comics, Superman, Detective Comics, or Batman, or The Dark Knight, and all these Spider-Man titles. So that's obvious. A lot of people are collecting Amazing Spider-Man because there are 670 issues so far, and it has its ups and downs, but for the most part, it's a really good series. Where me, I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man is pretty much my favorite comic book character, with the exception of maybe Wolverine and Batman. But instead of collecting all of Amazing Spider-Man, I thought to myself, how can I be different? Because collecting all of Amazing Spider-Man, that's kind of like a lifelong journey. If you don't have a lot of money, it's going to take a long time, and it's really going to drain your income. So, as opposed to collecting all of Amazing Spider-Man or all of Batman or something like that, what I do to make my collection more unique is I look for things that particularly interest me. For instance, I'll find some rare Spider-Man stuff, like some rare comic books that are kind of obscure. Nobody's really heard of them except for the hardcore fans, and you can get them at a pretty good price because they're not considered valuable. And why are they not considered valuable? Well, for various reasons. Maybe people didn't really like the stories, or people didn't like the artwork, or it wasn't part of the mainstream. Who knows? But for whatever reason, these comic books aren't considered valuable by the majority of collectors. But what really makes something valuable is the person who, desires it. You've heard the saying, "One man's trash is another man's treasure, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder." And that rings true here. It's all about your personal opinion and how you feel about it. To me, if I go out and I collect a lot of obscure titles and things that a lot of people have never even heard of or never seen before, that makes my collection all that more interesting and all that more unique. And it brings about discussion, like, oh, where did you find that, and why did you decide to get it? It's more appealing to me and to other people. So that's my personal advice when it comes to collecting. Instead of just trying to get every single issue of something, look for the issues that have a significance to you. For instance, what is it about this particular issue that you can tell a story about, that you can say, this is my favorite issue because, or I particularly like this issue because? For me, it's when it comes to Amazing Spider-Man, I love the character of Venom. He is my favorite my favorite Spider-Man character other than Spider-Man himself. I also really like Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider, but Venom is my #1, and I've decided to collect every single appearance of Venom. And that's not going to be a huge collection, okay? That's something achievable that I can do. And you know, how many people can say they have every single appearance of Venom? I'm sure a lot less people can say that compared to the amount of people who can say I have every issue of Amazing Spider-Man or something to that regard, something more popular. So what I've been doing is trying to put together my collection of Venom, not just comic books, also toys and posters and things like that, to make my collection really unique and really stand out, and to have it mean something to me. You see, a lot of collectors will get caught up in trying to get comic books just for their value or just for the investment, and I think what they should be doing is just collecting what is important to them. Because when it comes to comic books, yeah, you can collect, you can try and go out and find the most valuable ones and hope that you'll get a return on your investment. But comic books really aren't all that valuable. I hate to say it, but you know, if you go to a comic store and you're trying to find rare comics, or like, let's say, important issues, like maybe all the 100s, like 100, 200, 300, the chances of you buying the comic at a rate that you can actually earn money on it after a couple years, it's a very slim chance. I hate to see it, but that's just the way it goes. The comic book stores have priced the comics accordingly, according to their value. They look at price guides, they consider all these factors like demand and rarity, and they price it accordingly. They're going to get their money no matter what. So for you to be able to buy a comic book and then, say, 5 years from now make a huge profit off it, it's just not going to happen. It's highly unlikely. So that frame of mind, or that mindset for collecting comics, it doesn't really work. So my message or my advice to you guys, if you're starting out with comics and you're not really sure what to get the books that you like, the books that are interesting to you. And if you're going to start a collection, try to find a character that you like, and it doesn't need to be a really popular character. In fact, it would be better if it wasn't such a popular character, you know. And then collect, like, maybe every issue with that character where the character makes like an impact. Not necessarily every single issue that he's ever appeared in, but you get my point. Try to make your collection special, unique, and that way you can talk about it. You can tell the story to other fans. You can say, hey, this is what I'm collecting, and the reason I'm collecting it is, and that way you know, you have a story to tell, you have something unique, and it's just better that way. You'll feel more satisfied. So there's my personal opinion about collecting comic books. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and definitely give me a comment. I look forward to reading your comments. See you guys next time.